I don't want to be just a manager of stuff. That's kind of my little quote about what was stirring in my heart before I got on this minimalism journey. But before I tell you about my minimalism journey, I want to back up because I feel like I need to explain and kind of help you understand a little bit more about my life, because I think I've had an easy onboarding to minimalism. So my husband and I, we got married in 2003. And when we got married, we lived in a tiny apartment. We didn't have all of our things because we knew at the time of our marriage that we were only going to be in that apartment for 2 years. And then we were going to move overseas for 2 years. And so we didn't even have all of our things with us our first 2 years of marriage. We had just what we needed in our tiny apartment. Then we moved overseas. We did not take all of our things. We carried just a few bags. And then while we lived there, we knew we were only there for 2 years. So while we did buy things and brought things back to our passport country with us, we didn't accumulate a lot because we had this 2 years mentality. We finally settled down and bought a very big house to us in 2007. That house was a little more than 2,000 square feet, and we had all of our stuff there with us, we thought. But later realized it wasn't all. But anyway, we lived in that house less than a year, and guess what? We went back overseas. So when we went back overseas, it sounds more than a year, but we moved to a temporary place for about 7 months. Then we went to a training to go overseas. So in 2009, we got rid of a whole lot of our things because we knew we were moving overseas out of our passport country for a long time. So we got rid of a lot of things. And then we stored some things in my in-laws' attic loft space and in our my husband's grandfather's house. And so we went overseas to India. We arrived in India January of 2010 to live in one place to study language for 1 year. So again, we didn't even have our things. We didn't buy furniture. It was set up for us. It was just to study language. And then we moved to what was going to be our home. And it was about, I think, I like to share the square footage to help you understand. It was about 1,400 square feet. It was very large feeling because we didn't have much stuff. I'm going to say stuff like 200 times in this video, thanks. So when we moved to that home, I was back into the mentality of, hey, we're setting up home, and we started acquiring things. And I wasn't really thinking about it or conscious about it. It was just happening. But something happened. We lived in that house for a little more than 5 years. And while we were there, we started noticing like people leave, people come, people move. And some people were forced out. And in that time, it did something to us. And I didn't want as much stuff. And then we moved in 2016, and at this time you've got to know that our family, it's me and my husband and 5 kids, so 7 of us moved into an apartment in Mumbai. And that apartment was a little less, I don't know exactly how big it was, but a little less than 1,000 square feet. And all 7 of us, and at this time they're not babies anymore, they're all walking in beds and everything, so it felt much smaller, losing 400 to 500 square feet. And also at that point, we were living a life of moving and packing and not knowing all these things. It really does something to you mentally. So I want you to understand all of these things have been happening over 13 years to prepare me for where I think I am now. So that's a little bit story of ways that I think we've been on this journey. But my minimalism journey really started in 2019. And that quote that I started off with comes from, I do this little 5-year journal where you write, it's called a line a day. And I wrote that quote in September of 2019. But to back up, September 7th of 2019, I said this: we loaded up a U-Haul, a moving van, from the attic and the grandfather's storage, and we took all of our things to where we were going to be staying for a temporary time. So that was September 7th. And on September 17th, all of our things from India arrived on a crate. And I just wrote, our crate arrived. It is so weird and strange to have all of our things in one house. We are so thankful. And then I wrote other reflections. But this right here, long before I was introduced to minimalism, this is when I knew the Lord was just preparing me to receive it. So September 19th, 2019, I said, we are still moving into our house, and it was overwhelming, and it is, to think that we have all of our things together for 9 months to then pack it up and move again. And I'm naming the house street, and we thought we were going to move to a different country, not the one we're in now. And I just said, Lord, I don't want to be just a manager of stuff. Help me get us settled and then thrive and then repack. So I want you to hear that it's not fair for me just to share about minimalism to anyone. It's been an easy process for us because we do live this transient, moving, nomadic life. I mean, we settle for a while. But it is very different when you know, hey, I'm going to take all my belongings and go live in a country for a while, but I know that I'll then move again. So, and then again in December 12th of 2020, I was taking my counseling exams. I wasn't taking my exams yet, but I was studying for the weekend, and I was studying so hard. And then I even took them at the end of that weekend. And so my husband and kids went away. And I remember very vividly, I was eating a meal, taking a break from my studying, and I was watching one of my friends' YouTube videos. And I will go ahead and mention all my friends. So this was Joy Forney. And she was sharing, she lives a very frugal, but also a very simple life. She lives overseas right now. She has lived overseas for a long time. And I was watching one of her videos. And I'm convinced that it was from that video that the algorithm started working for me. And I also think it was the Lord, because remember that quote in September? I don't want to be just a manager of stuff. And I'm always sharing my heart with the Lord and just praying. So after watching Joy's video, these other videos popped up, and there was this lady, Dawn, who's also known as the Minimal Mom. She is a fantastic speaker, and I love all of her videos, and she talks about minimalism. And I was hooked right away, hooked in a really good way. And I was like, oh, this is so good. But I was like, I've got to get back to studying. I'll come back to this. So I did. I, finished my meal, turned off the video, and I was like, I think I even wrote it down or something. I was like, I'm going to come back to that, because that is kind of the answer to my, I don't want to just be a manager's stuff desire and cry. And you heard me, I prayed, Lord, I don't want to be just a manager of stuff. Help me get us settled and then thrive and repack. So that was December 2020. Took my exams. I passed all my counseling exams. Just cheer me on for that. But in January 8th is the next time, because I went back and looked at these journals. I don't know when I started watching her videos, but I do know it was in the new year. I don't do anything new at Christmas time. So I went through the rest of December. And at the new year, January 8th, I say that I'm working to clean and minimize. I want to do more than manage and think about stuff. I told you I was going to talk about stuff so much. And then even the next day, I'm minimizing our stuff, still working all afternoon and evening to go through it all. So those are just a fun little quotes to reflect back and to share a little more of my story and my journey. And that is really when I was introduced to minimalism. And I really, while I was cleaning out all my stuff, I was listening to Minimal Mom's YouTube videos. And of course, the algorithm, it's a beautiful thing sometimes. if you're consuming and it's good stuff, you're going to get the next thing. And so I also really started listening to Joshua Becker. He is a great minimalist. And both of these people love the Lord and walk with the Lord. And I love their perspective. So I'm going to link to them. And I hope you, if you want to go and learn more about minimalism, go check them out, because this is just not what I'm here for. I want to share my story, and I want to tell you minimalism is a really good thing, but I want you to go follow the experts. I'm just here to kind of share a resource. So to continue with my story, and that was in January 2021 when I was like, got after it, tossing things, really just getting rid of things and going through things. And then we moved, and I live in England right now, in November of 2021. I think it's still a pretty small house. I don't know how big this house is. It's very big enough for us, maybe 16 to 1800 square feet, just to help. I know sometimes things are relative, but we moved into this house, and we really brought almost all of our things. We've stored some things, but those are like sentimental items and things that we just don't need to have here, and want to have like one day when we have grandchildren and different things like that. So anyway, when we moved to the UK, and I came here with a minimalist mentality, and I set my house up like that, and I love it. And so we were very quick in November and December to buy the things we needed. I had a great list. And so in 2022, I challenged myself to have a no buy year. I don't even know where I learned all of these things. I think it was just the algorithm, and good things come in my way because I learned from some really good people. My no buy year, also Joy Forney was the first person to introduce me to that. But that was when I was like, wow, Joy, how do you do that? And I admired her. But the Lord has just done so much in my heart. I was ready for it by 2022. So what that meant for me was that I was not going to buy any clothes, and I wasn't going to buy any new like cosmetics and toiletries and things like that. Hard to explain. I would buy what I needed, but that was just to be like a refill, not just chasing and trying new things and all of these things. Also, we wouldn't buy any new furniture or appliances or decorations or things for our house. Remember, I had just set up my house the way I wanted it, and I was like, I'm not buying anything for a year. Now, of course, I bought groceries. You have to eat. Of course, I bought groceries, and I did buy refills of things I needed. And then the other thing, this was kind of like my special little thing because I wanted to learn how to have plants. So it started, I was just going to buy one plant a month. But then in the spring, a friend came and visited who is very knowledgeable about plants, and I bought a whole lot. And then I had another friend who lives here that I was like, we went plant shopping, and I bought a whole lot. And then I just didn't buy any for the rest of the year. So that's kind of my disclaimer. I had a no-buy year to work on contentment with house stuff and my clothes and things like that. But I did buy plants, and that was a fun little area to spend money. And then I also have to confess, while I didn't buy any clothes, I did buy shoes. We moved to a different climate, and I don't like to be cold. And I got some really nice boots for living in the UK, and they're waterproof and they're warm and they're comfortable and great to walk around in the city of London all day long. So I bought some new shoes, and then I signed up for a 10K. I had to buy new running shoes because mine were from 2019 and had a couple of half marathons on them, and I hadn't 4 years. So, and then my husband bought me another pair of boots that I've been wanting at the end for Christmas. So that's 2022. So there's my story. Some of it is just for you to know the history and to know how easy it was. I want you to know that. I know that it would be harder if I had been living in a house for 20 years when I was introduced to minimalism, but this overseas life, this overseas journey and moving and different things, it sets you up in a different way. So that's just me sharing part of that. And then the other thing I want you to know, the no buy here, even if you don't become a minimalist or minimalism is not for you, I just challenge you to do that because it did something different in my heart. Even I was telling one of my friends that I was going to do that, and she was talking back and responding to me, and she called it, since you're having your year of contentment. And I was like, ooh, that's such a way better term, year of contentment. So doing something like a no buy year will really stir in your heart and challenge you and grow you towards contentment. So I want to share that really happens. And then the other thing, during my no buy commitment year, I was really mindful when I did start buying things. I had a list of things that I really wanted, and I'd been thinking about that for more than, a few months, depending on when it came up. And then I had time to be like, no, change my mind, don't really want that. Yeah, I really do want this. And so when I did start buying things again in 2023, I was way smarter about my purchases. So I just ask you to consider doing something like a no buy year or a challenge. You don't have to not buy anything. It might be that you just need to not buy any clothes or something like that. So I do want to kind of say my definition of minimalism is just having less material things so that you don't spend time managing stuff and you spend time doing and living life. So that's just kind of what I call it, because you heard in my words before I had any idea about minimalism that I just didn't want to be a manager of stuff. When we have things, we have to keep up with them. We have to clean them. We have to, if you have drawers that are full, you have to move things around. You have to pull out your winter clothes and change your summer clothes. Like my one closet wardrobe, it has all of my clothes for the whole year in it. And I don't have to spend time just moving stuff around and taking all those things. And then the other thing is there's a lot of benefits that go with it. So I'm going to share some of my personal benefits. My home is quick and easy to clean because we have less things. Like if you're dusting, easy to dust. If you have less things, dust around. That's just an example. And I know that the way we live now it makes it much easier to clean than other times before. The other thing, and this might be very specific to me, but some of you are like me, and then even if you're not like me, this is true. Well, my personality, even without minimalism and stuff, I hate clutter. When I see clutter and things everywhere, I feel stressed out in my brain. And that's kind of true of many people, most people. And so a benefit of having less things is your house feels cleaner, your mind feels peaceful, and I think a less cluttered house means a less cluttered brain. I know some of that's my personality, but I do think it might be more true than most people realize. And then this is the biggest one. Stuff has way less of a hold on me now. And that really came from the 2019, or not 2019, sorry, the 2021 and 2022. So 2021 really just going after minimalism and getting rid of a whole lot of things. In 22, the no buy or contentment year. So stuff has a less of a hold on me. When things break, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm a little bit closer to being a minimalist. I am more likely to toss things and let go of them. And I'm also more likely to not hoard things. Like when people are giving away free things, that happens a lot with overseas communities. I'm like, I really don't want that. That's cool, that's free, but I don't want to hoard it. I don't want to put it somewhere and have to manage stuff. That's always in my head. And once I started having less things, I actually find that my poverty mentality, the part that says don't have enough, it is way smaller. Now I might have poverty mentality in other areas, but I don't have it with stuff. I spend way less time shopping. I buy things now. 2023 was not a no-buy year. 2024 is not a no-buy year, but I spend way less time shopping. And that means I have more time to meet with people, hang out with people, and just rest well and do things I love. I have less buyer's regret. So of course, if you do a no buyer, you're going to have less buyer's regret. And then I just want to say that even beyond that, it just changed how I viewed things and how I decide about purchases. And I still have buyer's regret, but I have less buyer's regret. And then two things. There's pressure off of me. I don't know how to explain this. I don't think I've, at least in my adult life, not in my teenage life for sure, but I don't feel the need to keep up with other people. Like when other people are buying certain things, or when you see on social media these trends and all of this, I just don't feel the need to get on board with it. I don't. And that goes along with just buying things that are popular and other people have, but it's also with name brand things. I don't feel the need to have name brand things. And I don't know when that came along, but I do think maybe part of my journey with minimalism has helped it. So those are some of my personal benefits. Now I want to say a couple of other things. Minimalism must serve you. Now, if some people came to my house, and this has actually happened, there are times where people kind of think that we don't have much stuff. And then there's other times, if you come to, some people will be like, you're not a minimalist at all, because we probably have more than typical minimalists. And you got to remember, I am a family of 7, and I don't think it would be right to go as hardcore as kind of my heart wants to. You know, one day I want to have a tiny home, and I will truly be a minimalist when I have an empty nest, but then I'm going to have grandchildren. What do I do with that? But it needs to serve you. So for example, there are a few ways that we are not minimalist. If you opened up my cabinet to where all of my teacups and coffee mugs are, you would be like, girl, you are not a minimalist. But here's the thing, I love serving people tea and coffee, and we love having guests. And I want to drink out of a coffee mug and a teacup, and not like styrofoam or paper or whatever like that. So that's where it serves us. The other thing where we are crazy not minimalist is games. Now my kids don't have a whole lot of toys, but we have so many games and we love them, and we don't play all of our games right now, but we are a family that will pull out an old game and then it brings new joy, and we play it for a long time because it was like, oh, we forgot how fun that is. And so because of my kids and I value the games, we're not going to get rid of those, and we like to play games with other people. We also have a lot of books, but I have cut down on the books so much. But so I just want you to hear, like, it should serve you, and if you use it and you value it, do you hear how we value playing games with other people? We value having coffee and tea and just books and things like that. The other thing, we have 6 extra mattresses in our house. So 6 more, like we can host 6 extra people, but we value that our family can come over here and they can stay in our home with us. Our friends can come and stay with us. Sometimes as people from all overseas and different expats travel through, we want them to stay with us. So having 6 extra mattresses, that's totally not like what a minimalist would do, but it shows what we value in our life. We value hosting people and having people with us. So it should serve you, and it'll reflect those things. So there's just a couple of last things I want to say. Number one, if I could try to talk you into minimalism, I bet you all have experienced this, where you go on vacation. Now, I know the analogy will break down a little bit because it's vacation, but when you go on vacation, you know how nice it feels? You wear everything. Well, it depends on how you pack, but I pack in a way where I pack what I need to wear, and I wear pretty much almost everything, and I don't have all this extra stuff that I have to think about. So even in minimalism, when you think about going through your clothes, like, you don't want to give all that brain energy to like go looking at all this stuff in ways it doesn't serve you. And here's the thing, Dawn at Minimal Mom will really help you way better than I can to help you to know it's way more than just having what you need, way bigger. So go check out her stuff. It's very fascinating. But also when you're on vacation and you're at that clean rental home or Airbnb or whatever, you know how nice it feels when it's not cluttered and you just have what you need. And sure, you might wish you had your extra special kitchen gadget or whatever, but usually you can do without. And it's just it feels nice and it feels more relaxing. And I know this is where the analogy breaks down because you're on vacation, so of course you feel more relaxed. But just the house without clutter, the drawers are not jammed full. Even if you unpack out of your suitcase, your drawers, there's room with there, and then just know what you're gonna wear. So that might help you just have a glimpse into what it's like to own less things and to get rid of your things. I hope I could talk you into it. Finally, I wanted to share just 2 passages of scripture that these actually came to me after minimalism. Different times when I'm reading my Bible and I'm like, yeah, this just confirms it, and I wrote it down. So Proverbs 15:16 says, better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure with trouble with it. And just going back to my my little sentence I started with of, I don't want to be just a manager of stuff. The more things you have, you have to take care of it. You have great trouble with it when we have all these treasures. So just consider that. You can take that scripture and sit with it and contemplate what it means to you. And then the other one is from 1 Timothy 6. And this is the stuff right here. 1 Timothy 6:6-8. Now, there is great gain in godliness with contentment. For we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. So sit with that scripture. I really don't want to add to it or, talk and chat all about it, but I invite you to open up your word and just write down those 2 passages, Proverbs 15:16, 1 Timothy 6:6-8, and just you think on them and you pray about it and see how it would benefit you. And the last thing, find some friends that'll get on board with you. I've had fun with it. As I've talked about different things I'm doing, different things in my life, I have some people that make fun of me, and I just let them make fun of me, and I'll joke around and tell them about my minimalist self. And that's a fun way. They don't have to be minimalist, but let some of your friends and your people know what you're doing and laugh about it, okay? Laugh and have fun. And then I have a couple of friends that have become minimalists too, and it is really fun to cheer each other on when it's like, hey, I got rid of all this stuff, or look at all of these things that I'm throwing out or donating to charity or to Goodwill or depending on what country you're in, the thrift store. And it's just fun to cheer each other on. So find somebody to be in it with you. And if you don't have anyone, write to me, let me know. I will cheer you on and I will share more. So if you have any questions about anything that I've shared on here, you're just curious, I love talking about this because it really has changed my and my family's life, I believe, in a better way. And so that's why I'm sharing it here. But I won't be sharing a whole lot more. This is my intro. Only if you just have questions, I'll chat with you about it. But I highly recommend that you go check out Dawn with Minimal Mom and Joshua Becker. Those are my favorites. And they are experts, and they will really help you understand and see the benefit and the amazing gift of minimalism. Thanks for listening to my story.